You know that person who pulls away right when things get good? The one who goes cold after an amazing connection? Here's what nobody tells you: that distance. It's not what you think. What if I told you that when an avoidant pushes you away, they're actually trying to protect something precious? What if their hurt is the most vulnerable thing they can show you? Today, we're flipping the script on avoidant attachment, because once you understand what's really happening behind that wall, everything changes. This isn't about excusing bad behavior or accepting breadcrumbs. This is about seeing the truth beneath the surface, a truth that might completely transform how you understand love, pain, and the complicated dance between two wounded hearts. So whether you're currently loving an avoidant, healing from one, or trying to understand your own patterns, stay with me. What you're about to discover will shift your entire perspective on what it means when someone hurts you while desperately trying to love you. Let's dive deep into the paradox that nobody talks about: the invisible war happening behind closed doors, and the heartbreaking reality that sometimes the people who push us away the hardest are the ones holding on the tightest inside. Ready? Let's begin. Here's the truth bomb that'll blow your mind. Avoidants hurt the people they love most. I know, that sounds completely backwards, like some kind of twisted logic that makes no sense. But think about it for a second. Who do they keep at arm's length? Strangers? Absolutely not. Casual acquaintances they see once a month? Never. Random people who don't matter. Not even close. It's always the people who matter most, the ones who get close enough to see the real person underneath, the ones who trigger their deepest fears simply by caring too much. When an avoidant pulls away from you, it's actually a twisted compliment. It means you've crossed into sacred, dangerous territory. You've become someone who could genuinely hurt them, someone whose opinion matters, someone they could actually lose, and that loss would devastate them. And that realization, it absolutely terrifies them to their core. The distance you're experiencing isn't rejection in the traditional sense. It's a full-blown panic response to how much they actually care about you. Um, think of it like someone who's allergic to peanuts having a reaction. The stronger the allergen, the stronger the reaction. You're not being rejected because you're not enough. You're being pushed away because you're too much of what they've always wanted but never learned how to handle. The intimacy you're offering, the genuine connection, the authentic love, it's all triggering every defense mechanism they've built over decades. So when they hurt you with their distance, their coldness, their seemingly cruel withdrawal, what they're really saying is, you matter so much that it's overwhelming me. They just don't have the emotional vocabulary or self-awareness to communicate that directly. The story always begins in childhood, and understanding this changes everything. Let's rewind to where this protective mechanism was born. Picture a small child who learned through painful experience that needing someone meant inevitable pain and disappointment. Maybe their emotions were consistently dismissed as too much or dramatic. Maybe when they cried, they were told to toughen up, stop being so sensitive, or sent to their room until they could control themselves. Maybe vulnerability was met with criticism, mockery, or worse, complete emotional abandonment. Maybe love felt entirely conditional, only given freely when they were independent, strong, self-sufficient, and not asking for anything. That child, in their desperate need to survive and avoid pain, made a fundamental decision that would shape their entire approach to relationships. If I don't need anyone, I can't be hurt by them. It seemed like brilliant logic at the time, a foolproof strategy for emotional survival. Fast forward to adulthood, and that protective mechanism is still running on complete autopilot, operating below conscious awareness. When an avoidant starts to feel themselves genuinely needing you, falling for you, depending on you for emotional support or happiness, every internal alarm bell starts screaming at maximum volume. Every instinct that kept them safe as a child activates simultaneously. The fear isn't rational or proportional. It's primal, ancient, rooted in actual survival experiences from when they were small and powerless. So they create distance not because they don't love you or because you've done something wrong, but because somewhere deep inside, that wounded child is still absolutely convinced that needing someone equals certain abandonment. They're not choosing to hurt you. They're choosing to protect themselves from what feels like existential danger, even though the real danger passed decades ago. Here's what's actually happening behind that cold, distant exterior while you're suffering on the other side, while you're lying awake at night feeling rejected, replaying every conversation, trying to figure out what you did wrong. They're drowning in waves of shame so intense it's physically painful. While you're wondering if you were ever enough, if the connection was even real, they're battling intense self loathing and disgust at their own behavior. They know on some level that they're pushing away someone incredible. They know they're sabotaging something real and rare. They can see themselves doing it almost like watching from outside their own body, and it's absolutely killing them inside. The harsh words they said, those weren't truths. They were desperate attempts to convince themselves they don't care, to create enough emotional distance that they can breathe again. The disappearing act, the ghosting, the sudden withdrawal. That's not casual cruelty. It's an escape from overwhelming emotion. They have absolutely no idea how to process or tolerate the walls they've thrown up. Those aren't meant to hurt you. They're protection from a vulnerability that literally feels like dying, like their very self is being annihilated every single time they hurt you. They're simultaneously confirming their worst, most painful belief about themselves. I'm fundamentally broken. I'm not capable of real love. I ruin everything good that comes into my life. I don't deserve happiness. The pain they cause you becomes a perfect mirror of the pain they've been carrying their entire life. The deep conviction that something is fundamentally wrong with them at their core. And the worst part, each time they push you away, it reinforces the cycle, proves their negative beliefs, and makes it even harder to break free next time. Now, here's where the situation becomes even more psychologically complicated and painful for everyone involved. When an avoidant pushes you away, part of them, usually completely unconscious, operating far below their awareness, is actually testing something fundamental. Will you leave like everyone else eventually did? Or will you prove that I'm actually worth fighting for, worth staying for, worth the effort? But here's the absolute twist that makes this so devastating. They genuinely don't even know they're doing it. This isn't manipulation in the traditional sense, an unconscious reenactment of their childhood wounds. On the surface, in their conscious mind, they genuinely believe they want space, distance, freedom. They'll tell you directly to leave, give up, move on. They'll say things like, I'm not good for you, or you deserve better, and mean it in the moment. They'll act with apparent conviction like they genuinely don't care whether you stay or go. Meanwhile, beneath all that, their terrified inner child is desperately watching to see if you'll stay anyway, if you'll be different from everyone else, if you'll somehow see through the armor and walls to the person underneath who is absolutely desperate for genuine connection but has zero idea how to accept it without panicking. It's profoundly unfair to you. You never signed up for this test. You didn't consent to this dynamic, and you shouldn't have to prove your worth by enduring emotional neglect. It's also not healthy for either person involved, but it is psychologically real, happening in countless relationships right now. The push is simultaneously a shield protecting them from pain and a prayer that someone will finally stay despite everything, proving that love doesn't always end in abandonment. Here's the piece that most people completely fail to understand about the avoidant experience of love, and it explains so much of their confusing behavior. For people with secure attachment, love feels naturally expansive and additive. It enhances who you are, adds color and depth to your life, makes you feel more fully yourself. But for avoidance, love feels like complete erasure of self, like they're being swallowed whole by another person, like they're losing the only identity they've ever known, the independent, self-sufficient, I don't need anyone version of themselves. When they pull away from you after a period of closeness, they're not rejecting you or the relationship. They're literally gasping for air, desperate to remember who they are outside of the relationship. They need physical and emotional space just to feel like themselves again, because intimacy for them creates this terrifying sensation of dissolving, of losing all boundaries, of ceasing to exist as a separate person. It's not about you being too much or too needy or too clingy. It's about them never learning the fundamental truth that you can be genuinely close to someone and still maintain your individual identity. That love doesn't require completely losing yourself or merging into another person's. It should actually enhance and support your sense of self. But nobody ever taught them that crucial lesson. Nobody modeled healthy interdependence where choose each other while remaining whole. So they get caught in this exhausting cycle, bouncing back and forth between desperately craving connection, frantically running from it, moving closer, and then pulling away over and over in the same painful pattern, always wondering why they can't just feel normal about love like other people seem to. The tragedy is that what they want most genuine, lasting connection is exactly what terrifies them most, creating an impossible internal conflict that plays out in their relationships. Here's the beautiful, heartbreaking, complicated truth that might actually give you hope or at least understanding. When an avoidant hurts you, it often means they haven't given up yet on the relationship or on themselves. It means they're still in the arena, still fighting their internal demons, still trying desperately to make it work in the only broken, dysfunctional way they know how. Real, final rejection from an avoidant actually looks completely different from the push pull dynamic. When they're truly done, it's clear, it's decisive, and it's emotionally detached in a way that feels almost cold. They simply leave with a clean break, no drama, no back and forth, no mixed signals. But the push pull pattern you're experiencing, the hot and cold behavior that's making you crazy, the cycle of hurting you and then coming back, that's actually someone at war with themselves, caught between equally powerful forces. That's someone who genuinely wants to love you, but has no idea how to do it without panicking. Someone who's simultaneously terrified of losing you and terrified of keeping you, because both options feel dangerous. It's absolutely not an excuse for hurtful behavior. You don't have to accept being hurt just because someone is struggling. It doesn't make the pain you're experiencing okay or justified or something you should just tolerate indefinitely. But understanding this pattern is a sign that underneath all that fear, beneath all those walls and defense mechanisms, there's a real person who cares far more than they can safely admit, even to themselves. They're showing you love in the only language they know, which unfortunately is the language of wounds and walls. The critical question you need to answer for yourself is this: can you love them, understand them, and support their healing without completely losing yourself in the process, without sacrificing your own needs and emotional well being on the altar of their healing journey?